Let's see, it's thinking. We'll see if it decides to start recording for us. Okay, the recording is active. Welcome everybody. I'm super happy to be having another webinar today. It's been about 7 weeks. We caught the end of March, skipped April. I was starting a new job and ramping up, and in many ways, I'm still ramping up. But I'm super excited to be presenting a lot of what I experience, particularly with my sourcing tool belt. Most of you know that I love X-ray searching. I also really love Seek Out, and I'm learning to like LinkedIn Recruiter more and more. I know it gets a bad rap. Many of that is rightfully earned, but we're going to dive into some of that. But today's presentation is on sourcing platforms. No, it is not on the platform shoe that you see in there. That is not what I mean by sourcing platforms. What we're referring to is the different technologies and locations that you can use to find candidates for your jobs. I do need to put a disclaimer out. I'm not paid to promote any platform. This is just based on my experience and what I want to share. I know this was a big conversation a couple months ago about people presenting and not disclaiming that they were being paid to present a webinar and whatnot. I just want to make it very clear. Nobody's paying me to say any of this. This is entirely based upon my perceptions and my experience, and my opinions can always be swayed. This is just a little bit about what I've learned and what I know. So there's our disclaimer. Everything here is my own personal opinion. First, we're going to start with Google X-ray. Excuse me. We're going to start with the Google X-ray basics. I've covered this in depth in several webinars. This is the only slide we're going to spend on this. But essentially, these are the key pieces that you need to know, right? With Google, the most efficient ways to search and easiest ramp up to learn is your and or not. That is applicable to all Boolean. So no matter which platform you're using, anticipate using and or and not. With Google in particular, and I specify Google, I've often said X-ray in general. I use Google X-ray. It is a different, slightly different syntax if you're using Bing. It's a different access if you're using customized search engines. I specialize in Google X-ray. I'm looking to learn more and always trying to learn more. But with Google, a couple of the key ones that you need to know there is the around function, making sure that you are utilizing this. We're going to see an example of how to use a nested or statement around in an around function. You're going to need to know the cite function. This one's particularly important as it's telling you where you're going to go look, whether that's LinkedIn, GitHub, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, wherever you're looking there. The in URL function is particularly helpful when you start using sites that aren't necessarily resume based. So like github.io or github.com, putting in URL, resume, or CV is a great way of making sure that you're finding profiles that have their resume so that it serves a purpose for you. Likewise, using it as a not statement or not in URL, such as not post, not status, not video, things like that to find profiles, whether you're using Facebook, Instagram, other social media. But in URL is a particularly useful function once you're getting beyond LinkedIn. I would say it's not necessarily beginner friendly X-ray Boolean, but it is one that will prove to be valuable once you understand how it works. And then in title is a absolute must-have, in my opinion, if you are using X-ray searches for LinkedIn. The reason I say that is LinkedIn codes their user profiles so that if you are searching LinkedIn outside of LinkedIn, the title of the web page will be a person's name. The title of the web page will be what their current role is, and usually some piece or snippet of their headline. So in title is absolutely a must-have in your Google X-ray tool belt in order to optimize your search results. So that's Google X-ray basics. Again, this is the only slide I'm going to cover on that. I love to talk about this. We will be talking about this more in depth and in additional webinars and past webinars. We've talked about it. If you ever have questions about Google X-ray, I would love to have a sourcing strategy session because I geek out over this stuff pretty good. That being said, though, we're going to dive right into the benefits of X-Ray. The first is you can search any platform. If you're searching on Google, you're not limited to a paid platform to search and find profiles. You're not limited to just a single silo like just LinkedIn or just GitHub. You really can search whatever is searchable. In my last X-Ray webinar, we talked about looking at WordPress documents for resumes. Not the most particularly useful, but it is something that is there and able to utilize. The next one would be real-time data. Google, because it's pulling directly from the links, you know every link that you're clicking on is going to be the most updated version of that link. This is going to come into play later as we look at both LinkedIn and Seekout. But the real-time data is a huge benefit to using X-ray searches for that reason. Third is it's easily exportable. There are so many free web scrapers out there. I have a handful I can recommend, but web scraping is super easy. You can put it all right into a spreadsheet, whether that's Excel or Google Sheets, and export and then import into your ATS. Or an alternative, if you're tracking things in Sheets, it's already there, but super easily exportable. And the last, it's free. I've had conversations, and I know many of my colleagues have had conversations going to heads of TA or further up the chain to ask for budget for more tools, more resources to be more effective at our jobs. And they say, oh, sorry, we can't do that. I saw a post on LinkedIn just the other day that says, that says something along the lines of recruiters bring in 100% of the people that make 100% of the company's profit, and we usually have such a little budget. It's true. So if you can utilize X-Ray, and that is a tool that you have, it's free, and you're going to impress and turn heads as well as save money. Again, it's not necessarily ideal, but it is highly useful. A couple of the problems with X-Ray, though, that absolutely need to be addressed is there's no AI assist. And in a world of evolving AI, I anticipate this will not be there for long. I know Bing is already working on this, already has some version of this out, and I want to get learning that. I know Google has announced that there will be AI assisted search bars. So I imagine it's not going to take long before we as recruiters or sourcers can utilize AI assist in our searching, but it is something to be addressed up front. The other platforms such as LinkedIn and Seekout have AI assistants that will help you fix mistakes, help you recognize where errors are in your Boolean, you recognize or help address unrecognized syntax, things like that. In Google X-Ray, you're flying by the seat of your pants. You get to figure it out yourself, and that's part of the fun of it. But it is definitely a problem if that's not a platform you're familiar with. There's lots to learn. Even still, I have a cheat sheet that I utilize all the time if there's particular things that I need to know. Um, Google X-ray searching is robust. There are so many different nuances to it. Every site that you're jumping into, whether it's social media, it's LinkedIn, it's GitHub, it's Reddit, they all use different syntax. All of their URLs interact differently. The way that everything is built is different from platform to platform. And so it is a lot to learn how to pull profiles out of each of those. Um, it's a lot, but that, like I said, that's part of the joy of it for me in particular. I love to learn. Third, it's not in your ATS or project management tools. It's entirely on Google, and so finding a way to integrate and create ease of access in those tools is going to be important. It's not necessarily hard, but it may require you to download additional softwares such as a web scraper, and not all organizations allow for that. For example, I work for a financial institution now. I'm at BECU, and we cannot sign into Chrome. So I cannot use my Chrome extensions there that allow me to scrape the web. I have to get creative with how I'm approaching that. So potential problem if you're just using X-Ray. And then limits to syntax and stop words. This is something that sourcing platforms have gotten really good at, is navigating around these stop words. For example, if you're looking for a software developer that programs in Go, if you use the word Go in Google, it just ignores it. It doesn't recognize it. It's not going to yield results. Um, and as I've got on the screen there, this we'll demonstrate this a little bit later. One of the issues here. Um, but this is definitely something that you have to learn. You can go and Google what the stop words are in a search engine, and you can see what those are. But it is a challenge that some of the other platforms no longer have because they have coded to get around that. So Google X-Ray, that's done. Took us about 10 minutes. We're going to dive into the rest of this. We're going to dive into LinkedIn Recruiter first. LinkedIn Recruiter basics. These are some snippets from when I first started. LinkedIn Recruiter is not my favorite tool. Like I said, I'm learning to like it a little bit more. So you can see I have one project here. I operate primarily in Seekout and X-Ray right now, but this is super useful. So a couple different things as you boot up LinkedIn Recruiter, you go to start a new search. On the left-hand side of the screen here, you can see save searches. You can see your different fields that you want to search, whether that's job titles, locations, etc. Right? Really clean. They're isolated. You're able to just put in job titles that it'll autofill for you. If again on the line of software engineer, if you're clicking software engineer, you'll notice a couple different options. You can either have just the word software engineer, or it'll have, I think it's 3 bars, 3 black bars off to the side. And what that is doing is it's encouraging stemming. So anything that is related to the title software engineer, whether that's software developer or a Java developer, a .NET engineer, whatever that might be, it's going to pull those things together. Uh, that's the AI assist that Google X-Ray does not have. So your functionality there is that you can either use the bubbles or you can put in straight Boolean. I'm going to show a little bit of what that Boolean looks like later. In addition to that, as you're working on projects, LinkedIn Recruiter is highly collaborative, and you can see who the project's owners are. Um, those are some of my awesome coworkers right now that have very full plates. Kent is phenomenal, 233 projects that he's got his active hands in right now. Some of those are probably outdated, but what happens is you can now interact and you can collaborate in a project together. One of the biggest benefits of LinkedIn right there is it functions highly as a project management tool. And I think it does that better than it does sourcing, but its sourcing capabilities are fairly decent, and they keep getting better with a couple caveats that I have there. But in LinkedIn continued, this is an example of your search history and your saved searches. Another huge benefit to LinkedIn that Google X-Ray does not have is you can save your searches, easily return, and when you save your searches and you go and you look at what those searches were, you can see exactly how, or go to your search history. Sorry, you can see exactly how LinkedIn is putting in the syntax there. Right, it'll help you learn Boolean, help you learn how to write Boolean better if you're looking at how the platform is interacting with it, right? So at the top there, you can see 1:30 p.m. search in Monroe NFC Chris. That's me. Surprise, I'm Chris. I'm only Aquaman by night, but during the workday, I'm still Chris. We've got keywords, and you can see manager of the year or manager of the month. We were looking if for this role in particular, we were looking for a branch manager for a bank that had a high track record of top performance, right? So we were looking for manager of the year, manager of the month awards. This was just to start. I run my searches in iterations. It's one of my biggest strategies there is I start with very specific things. I start to look at what can I improve on, what can I iterate on to yield different searches. But you can see exactly how the syntax works here, right? You see the use of quotes, the use of parentheses. Um, you can see how it's interacting with these different aspects. The other cool one is save searches. This is something I think Seekout does better than LinkedIn Recruiter, but LinkedIn Recruiter still has this. If you have evergreen roles that you're constantly filling, you can save that search and return to it. Think, a lot of fairly entry level office jobs, people are probably on LinkedIn, maybe not a lot of data. And so you're having to sift through this. You create a saved search for those particular things. that those skill sets. You can go through there. You can set alerts to let you know when there's movement within your project. LinkedIn does this well. Could it be better? Absolutely. But this is part of your overview of LinkedIn Recruiter and some of the facets that it does. So let's talk about some of the benefits. I mean, we've already talked about a couple of them, but I think the number one benefit is that it's collaborative in nature. I already said it, but LinkedIn, in my opinion, is a far superior project management tool than it is a sourcing tool. It does sourcing well, but I think it does project management better in being able to collaborate with recruiter to recruiter, sourcer to recruiter, recruiting manager and recruiter uh, on your open roles. So that being said, you're also able to write notes and statuses. You can InMail, which brings me to benefit number 2, the house of information. You're looking for LinkedIn profiles, right? Unless you're using Indeed resume database, or you're looking for software developers. Generally speaking, you're looking for LinkedIn profiles. So if you're already in the platform, utilizing that platform to find those people and integrate right into your ATS, right into whatever aspect that is, uh, it's pretty nice. It usually means less clicks, less downloads, less exports, all of those fun things. And then third is familiarity. A lot of individuals that source have exposure to recruiting. Maybe they were a recruiter, recruiting coordinator, whatever, moved to sourcing. Not everybody. I'm just saying happens quite often. Most recruiters did not come from a sourcing background though. And so for a sourcer and a recruiter to interact effectively, LinkedIn Recruiter does that really well, having that familiarity and the existing platform that we're all on, generally speaking, already. Some of the problems with LinkedIn Recruiter. We're not going to pretend they don't exist. LinkedIn Recruiter can feel kind of clunky, particularly with Boolean. Boolean can be limited with LinkedIn Recruiter, and when saving searches, sometimes the Boolean doesn't translate the best. In my experience, they really like to push LinkedIn. Really likes to push that they can help find. So if you interact with support, a lot of times they're going to tell you just to use the bubbles. They're not going to tell you how the Boolean works or how to utilize the Boolean. They're going to tell you to use filters and to use the bubbles and select your option selects. The number 2 problem, and probably should be the number 1 problem, is it's not diverse. And what I mean by that, right, is just like your DEI initiatives, if you're only utilizing one platform for recruiting, sourcing, recruitment, marketing, everything, you're in one house of LinkedIn, you're going to see the same pool, the same group of individuals, and this is going to be huge. We're gonna dive into what this looks like and diverse searching. But aside from DEI, diversifying your tool set is going to yield different people, regardless of protected class, DEI, inclusion aspects aside. I'm going to find different software engineers on different platforms than I'm going to find on LinkedIn. I'm going to find property managers. I'm going to find sales and marketing people. I'm going to find different groups of people in different platforms. We all utilize the platform that we feel most comfortable with, and LinkedIn predominantly is a human resource recruiting, sales and marketing platform. And so if you're looking for people that don't fit within those particular niches, it might be time to diversify your searching. And then expensive. This is something that I ran to while working at Wayne Technologies. LinkedIn Recruiter is kind of spendy, especially if you're on a small business. I understand as you scale up, you have larger enterprises, things become a little bit more affordable, a little bit more flexible. But if you're in a smaller company, LinkedIn Recruiter can be pretty spendy. So just to put that out there. Seek Out Basics. I love Seek Out. Seek Out is a great platform. They do what they do really well. So as you launch Seek Out, you're looking at your dashboard. I'm going to apologize right now. I do Seek Out in dark mode. It's a lot easier for me to ingest, so you're going to see my screenshots in dark mode. But in your dashboard, I can get right back in. It says jump back in right there in the bottom left-hand side in your direct search. I can pick up right where I left off. recruiting is a full-time job, sourcing is a full-time job. When I'm at the end of my day, I don't always have I don't always have everything wrapped up nicely, and I've got to go take my son to soccer. I got to go pick up my kids from school. I've got dance lessons for my daughter. Those are all real scenarios that I'm in which I shut my computer down. I walk away, and I come back to it an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours later, sometimes the next day. I can jump right back into where I'm at with ease. The AI matching is pretty cool. Talent Insights is pretty cool. And then your recent projects down below. Um, I didn't pull the recent projects. There's some information there that I want to make sure is held confidential with my employer. But the recent projects are all right there. You can see name of the project, candidates last updated, and who it's visible with. Something really cool about Seekout that I learned is that you don't have to have a Seekout seat to see what a project looks like. You can share projects uh, with full visibility, but not full platform access to those within your organization. Next, Seekout basic thing, high level view. I want to take a quick look at with everybody is your power filters. Once you start a search, this is over on the right hand side of the screen now. Once you start a search, you've got your keywords or Boolean box. That's my best friend. This is where I write all my searches. But then you have power filters. And so you'll see bank slash credit unions in Washington State. BECU operates 90% of their locations are in Washington State, maybe 99%. I know there's a branch in South Carolina, and I think that might be it. But if we're hiring for that specific location, those specific locations, we're looking at banking professionals. I'm going to need them in Washington State. So my power filter there is I went and listed current company search of everybody, all of Washington State's chartered banks and credit unions, as well as some of all of the large national ones as well. What I then did is saved my search, but rather than saving it as a search, I saved it as a power filter named at bank slash CUs in Washington State. So anytime I work on those roles, I can click that button and it auto generates all of my current company search information for those roles. Or you can see the BECU Core 7. Those are state locations. We hire in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, and South Carolina. That's it. So those 7 remote, or those 7 states are our remote states. So I save the power filter. That way, every time I go and create a search, I don't have to list each and every state. I can just click a button and that's all done for me, right? So that's some real high level views, Seekout basics. That's going to help you power through some of your searching. A couple others that we're going to talk about that I like with Seekout is their location radius. This is one thing that both X-Ray and LinkedIn run into the same problem. Is I'm looking at locations that are specific, right? And LinkedIn. LinkedIn does a better job than X-Ray at this, but with Seekout, I can expand my radius significantly to say I need people within 50 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles of this location. Think hybrid remote work. Excellent tool here. Listing, within how far, if they have to visit the office once a week, making sure that they're within 50 miles, right? If you need them within the state, but you're willing to relocate, look within 100 miles, things like that. Seekout also has diversity tags. This is not something that I have seen existing in LinkedIn. I have tried to find it. I cannot find it. So if you do know of this, let me know, please. But diversity tags, if you are working on a team that has a very specific DEI goal in mind, this is one of your best friends, the diversity tag. Go ahead and click one of those. And now you're looking at individuals that meet what your diversity requirements are. Check all of them if you need to, right? And then Seekout also has their combined experience. And this is something else that I've only seen at Seekout and is phenomenal, right? So your standard experience, you're looking how many years of experience, how many years have they been in a company, what is their current job title or past job title. What Seekout does is you can do either your standard or your combined. And so you can see on the right-hand side of my screen here in that screenshot and that screen grab, we've got find candidates who worked at BECU, who worked as a senior talent acquisition sourcer. That's me. Between the years of 2015 and 2023. Uh, so if I need people who come from a very particular background or very particular companies, this is a great way to do that. A great use case of this that I'm utilizing right now is I'm looking for architects, software architects, but I can't have them be an architect in such a long capacity. I need to know that they were a software developer, software engineer, experience recently. Like maybe they've only been an architect about the last two to 3 years. What I can do here is go and find candidates who worked as insert additional job title, software engineer, senior software engineer, whatever that might be, and then put in a date range. That way I know that they were in that capacity, they were hands-on coding up until approximate year X, and now their current title is an architect. Well, I know they're not so far removed from hands-on code that they now fit what I'm looking for, right? So this is a strategy I employ regularly when I've got those specifics. If I'm looking for a branch manager, for example, at a bank, but I need someone who's new. They've only been a branch manager for maybe a year, 2 years, and they come from an assistant branch manager or a loan officer, team lead, whatever that might be. I can put those specifics in, and now I'm finding people who are new. A high indicator that they're likely trainable and still looking to learn how to manage a team, as opposed to someone who's been a manager 15, 20 years and has their management style, knows what they want to do, and might be harder to mold into a new organization. A super useful tool when thinking strategically with your searches. Last, oh, actually, this might not be last. I think I've got one more on Seekout, but this was something I recently discovered with Seekout. Seekout has a drip messaging functionality that does not cost you any extra dollars, right? If you've used tools like Sourcewell, you've used tools like Interseller, Gem, right? This is what this is. You can see here 2 campaigns I've run for real, really small sample sizes so that I could test the functionality, really push the limits and learn what works. But I can see what my stats are. I can see my open rates, how many messages. You can see senior product analyst there. I've messaged 9 individuals. I've had 2 responses. I'm phenomenal. I've got 22% response rate in one message. All jokes aside, this is all testing. I've taken small batches. I'm playing with it. I'm learning what its functionality is. It's got some pros. It's got some cons here. If you're highly familiar with Seekout, Interseller, Gem, whatever your CRM emailing campaign tool is, you're going to learn that Seekout has a lot of those functionalities and is still developing some of those. But if you're already paying for the platform, it's here, and you can quickly utilize this functionality at no additional cost. Now, that being said, you do have to pay for contact credits if you're not uploading CSVs with contact information already into a particular project. You're pulling straight from your projects in Seekout. It is going to cost you contact credits, which can get spendy really quickly, but you do generally have a month-to-month rollover, so keep that in mind. But I like this in particular. I am not a fan of LinkedIn InMails. I personally ignore 95% of the LinkedIn InMails that come my way. I don't like to send them because I don't see a good success rate there. Most people don't live on LinkedIn like I live on LinkedIn, and so I try to send them emails and find a lot higher success rate here. It's fun to play with. This is something I'm learning, and anyone that has suggestions about Seekout messaging, let me know. But it's already here. You don't have to jump softwares. Okay, we do have one more. Last slide on Seekout. Seekout strategies is you can search other networks. So this works just like X-ray searching. I shouldn't say just like X-ray searching. It functions differently. But you can see on the top of this screen grab, this is in the search functionality of Seekout. You've got public profiles. You're looking at LinkedIn. That's all that is. Public profiles is LinkedIn. GitHub. All that is GitHub. Um, One of the cool things about GitHub searching that I'm going to just touch on with X-ray searching, I'm looking for GitHub profiles and content on the landing page for them. With Seekout GitHub searching, what I'm looking at is repositories, coding scores, things like that. So that even those two function very differently and interact differently. And then last, other networks. You can use Seekout to search Facebook, Instagram, Meetup, get into Stack Overflow, AngelList. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, healthcare. There are more platforms that you can utilize to search with. This is something that I have not used a ton of, as I generally rely on X-ray searching when I go to different platforms, but I've started to dip my toes into with Seekout, and I'm impressed. I think it's something worth exploring to find candidates that are not in oversaturated markets like LinkedIn, and then followed up by GitHub. But it works. You can find this. You can find these individuals. One last note. I'm going to jump back a couple slides here. Okay. Over here on the right hand side in this screen grab, you can see the keywords are Boolean box underneath Smart Match Boolean, and then there's a little purple link right there that says Advanced Search Tips. That should be your best friend if you seek out. I seriously have that link bookmarked on my bookmark tab, because it is a lot to try and remember all of the different search commands. You're going to have your go-to regulars that you're going to remember quite often. But if you're looking for something in particular, Advanced Search Tips breaks down all of the searchable fields within Seekout. Super helpful. So let's jump to benefits now. Number one, I think Seekout just provides greater searches. My bullet there lists it very clearly. Custom power filters, location radius, effective location radius I'm going to include. Combined experience sections, you can look for very specific parameters that you're not going to get without a lot of additional noise on different platforms. Contact finding and messaging is all in the same platform. And so if you don't have budget after you convinced your HR business partners or whoever's managing your talent acquisition budget to get Seekout, you've added that to your tool belt, and they're like, nope, sorry, we're not going to invest in a CRM seat or an emailing drip campaign seat for your organization for you at this time. It's already included in Seekout. You've got it there. Diverse searching, super helpful. Whether specific to EI groups or diversity in platforms, you got it covered. There's some really cool tricks that I love in Seekout. A couple of those, I'm going to see if I can put it in chat here. Is the wild card. So I hope this translates okay. There we go. Right there in chat, you can see a lovely profile picture there of me in a sumo suit. It was super fun. But that command, the / period * period / complete wildcard. This is particularly useful, I have found, when you're looking for entry level software developers, accountants, whatever you're looking for, individuals that are stepping into a profession that generally requires some level of college education. Right, you're looking for someone new, but you want to know that they're a high caliber. They're that rock star. I hate the buzzword, but you're looking for that rock star, right? Throw that command / period * period / into things like publications. People name their papers, their publications, all sorts of wacky things. It does not always have the title that is related to whatever that field is, even though that's what it's about. Throw it in there. You're going to find people, every single search result is going to come back with somebody who has a publication. Throw it in there in education. Maybe you need some, you want to see that their profile's up to date, ideally with dates. And so you want to see education, throw it in there. Every single person that comes back will have information in their education. Maybe you just want to see that they've got something in their summary. Maybe you don't care what it's about. The job title progression makes sense, right? Think accountants. Accountants are very structured across all industries what their job titles are going to be. And depending on what their level is, I know very well how many years of experience they have or what their capabilities are. But I want to see if they are reachable. If I can contact them, do they use LinkedIn? Throw your wildcard / period asterisk period / into the summary function. Everyone that returns is going to have some text, whether that's 2 words, a couple sentences, 5-page essay in their summary section. One of the greatest cool tricks that you have in Seekout is a genuine, true wildcard rather than a fill in the blank wildcard that you see with LinkedIn or Google X-Ray. You can also weight terms and search results. Use the caret function there. I can dive into that another time. But there's some really cool tricks. Maybe I just need something to appear once. It's a skill set that if they list it anywhere on their profile, I know they know how to do that thing. So I just need it one time. I don't need it repeated. I don't need them to be playing the buzzword search engine optimized result return because they've got that term listed all over. I just need it once, and then I can give weight to additional experience that they might have. And then Seekout also exports to your ATS as a sourcing tool. I assume that this was implied with LinkedIn Recruiter because they've been doing it for a long time. But Seekout also exports to your ATS. I have to use Workday. Somebody please send me a get well soon card. ATS is Workday is a terrible ATS, but Seekout does function with it. It's not the highest standard. I get that. But it is definitely a benefit that I have seen other platforms missing to the degree that Seekout has it. All that being said, if you can tell, I'm a fan of Seekout. There are, let's see, my slide didn't move. Let's try that again. There are some problems. The data isn't always current. For example, if you're on Seekout and you look specifically for me, right, Chris Aquaman Carver, I will return in your search results. But it still says that I'm a sourcer with Wayne Technologies. And unfortunately, that ended in February. Second problem, your messaging isn't editable. Even though it's included, which is a really nice perk, you cannot edit your messaging campaign once it's set. Once it's active, whether candidates are in there or not, you can't edit. You can't add extra steps. You can't adjust typos. All you can do is pause it and resume it. Which means if you need to make adjustments, you have to duplicate the campaign and start over, and it will not resume as a response to the people you already had in your campaign. 3, there is a lot here in Seekout, and I mean a lot, and it can feel highly overwhelming to step into a platform that is geared specifically for those that operate highly efficiently with Boolean. They do have their AI assist functions. They also have some really cool functionality that you can throw in your job descriptions, and it'll generate people to come back for you. But to utilize it in its most effective manner, it can feel really overwhelming to learn. And then last, the project management feels really clunky. If you've used ClickUp, it's called ClickUp for a reason. There's lots of clicks. This one feels very similar in the sense that it is a lot of clicking and unclicking to get things to move the way that you need them to move. Problem with Seekout. As much as I am a fan, it's not all sunshine and rainbows over there. So let's dive into some comparable searches. There we go. All of these are searches that I conducted on various on the 3 platforms we've discussed, and this is how it processes all of that. Up on the top, you can see I've got LinkedIn search, right? I put all of this into my different fields. I'm a Boolean nerd, so I put things in like Boolean. So job title, I really did not want to put software engineer and software developer, so I just put software and engineer or developer, and it pulls back anybody that has any variation of that, right? So you can see all of the differences here in how it's structured, what it looks like in the end, how it's interacting with the system. A couple things to note. LinkedIn screwed up. I took 2 screenshots here. You can see years of experience on the right hand side. 2 to 6 years is what I put. Reason for that, 6+ years generally for this particular role that I'm looking for is priced out of what we could afford. Generally, not entirely, but helping refine my search here. However, right next to it in the top left corner of that same box, you can see total years of experience in parentheses in years colon from 2 to 5. So it missed that 6th year of experience altogether anyway. But here's your comparable searches. This is what you're looking at, and the syntax that is utilized for all of these. So you can see they're all different. I'm telling them all to look for the same thing, and we're going to take a look at the results. And this is what I mean by diverse searches. LinkedIn found 676 total profiles. The cool part is it said 238 profiles are open to work, which means I can prioritize looking at those profiles, and I know that my likelihood of successful contact is going to be higher. That is data that is not available on the other platforms. I got 180 in Seekout, same search, and then I got 19 in Google, which really surprised me. And I had to think about this, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the webinar. So now I'm going to call your memory back. There are stop words. So C# and .NET interacted and disrupted the way that Google searched. I dropped those, and it came back right to what I needed it to be. So think about that as you're interacting with your searches. You're going to run into some issues. You're going to learn, and that's okay. But this is what's really cool, is that all of these searches are different. And if I were to run, scrape all of these, if I had the tool to do that and the time to do that, if I were to scrape all of these, export them, run against duplicates, you're going to see some duplicates, and you're going to see a lot not, particularly between Seekout and LinkedIn. I'm going to see that there are a lot that are not duplicates. Reasons for that is they look at the platform differently, and this is why diversity is key. Look, you look at your vegetables here. If all I ate was one vegetable, I'd get really sick of that vegetable. If all I did was hire one person, one kind of person, I would get really sick of that person, and I would be limited to just whatever their skill set is. I'm not going to make any progress. If I'm only hiring from one pool of people, I'm not going to get the progress, the different thinking patterns, things like that I'm going to get if I'm interacting with people all over the place. So the way to achieve your diverse results is that you collaborate, you share, find mentors, and then I put platforms with capital S at the end. Use multiple platforms. Even if it's just to make a point, if you've got that hiring manager that's like, I really got to find that perfect candidate, I've got the story for you. Working at Wayne Technologies, we always guaranteed 2 or more platforms used per role worked on. I was working on a role a little over a year ago where we were looking for an AWS architect. Ironically, I'm working on an architect role right now. Not related, but I was working on an AWS architect role for a company that was based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they had a very specific set of technology experience, location specific, and a couple other things that they were looking for. In total, I utilized 13 different platforms, some of which were not effective at all. I was returning 6, 7, 8 people in the search. The other platforms were returning 100, 150, 200 people. But the point that we did was we took this in a consultative approach back to the client. We said, hey, look, this is what we're running into. We've utilized 13 different resources to try and find these individuals, and we're starting to run into either duplicates or profiles and information that just does not have enough information for me to feel comfortable reaching out to them, which would likely lead to a poor candidate experience. So diversifying your tool belt is great in approaching your hiring managers from a consultative experience. If they're coming to you and they're saying, hey, we need our rock star, our ninja, our whatever buzzword they choose to use that I find deplorable. Whatever that is, you can use multiple platforms, search very specifically what they're looking for, come to them with the results and say, hey, this is what we're looking at. What can we adjust to open up our horizons, cast a broader net? So super important. Platforms, capital S at the end, right? Capital P, capital S. We want multiple platforms. But yeah, collaborate, share, and find mentors. I've got all three of those. Martel is in the chat right now. Him and I collaborate fairly often. We've had a few good collaborating sessions over some Boolean and different ideas and different approaches to try and find stuff. And it's awesome. People are out there. People are willing to have those conversations. Um, just look for them. So we're going to introduce the chessboard, right? Obviously not chess, but we're looking at pawn-shaped figures, and we're going to think strategically. If you're utilizing all three of these platforms, which I suspect there are a lot of individuals that are, um, approach each platform with what it does well, right? Google is great for diverse sourcing. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of patience to figure out exactly how to interact with each site. But Google and X-ray searching is fantastic for diverse sourcing. Seekout is super specific. I can look for very specific phrases, keywords, skills, whichever it is, in very particular parts of an individual's LinkedIn profile, a GitHub repository score, things like that. Seek out super specific. Utilize that. If you're using Seek Out as a giant blanket tool, just stick with LinkedIn Recruiter. But LinkedIn is great for project management, ease of access, and shareability. It's a phenomenal tool that I utilize now with my recruiters, and I've been able to see and pick their brains as to ways that they're searching for and finding candidates. So this is how I think about my tool belt and what each tool serves and how it serves those purposes. Are there more ways that you can use these tools? Absolutely. Am I the say all end all of what these tools do? Nope, absolutely not. If you have feedback, let me know. I love to learn. I always love to push limits and figure out what platforms are capable of doing. So play around with it. Ask people. Another one that comes to my mind, an example here is I had to find people in Germany, and I was trying to source on the platform Xing, XING. I had no idea how to utilize it, so I put a LinkedIn post and I said, "Hey, who out there knows how to use Xing? Anyone able to help me source, figure out some tips as to what works well, what doesn't?" Um, and I had people message me and commenting on the thread and saying, "Hey, yeah, I'd love to connect. Let's talk about this." And it works. People are super willing to share. Um, don't be afraid to ask. And that's it. That's our presentation. We're right at about 50 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead and put them in the chat. We can wait for just a minute as you think of those things. But hopefully, you've been able to learn some things today. Learn a little bit how my brain likes to think and approach different problems. And the way that I utilize my tools. Um, if this wasn't helpful, what would have been more helpful? What would have been maybe that cherry on top that you would have liked? Or if there's something you want to see more of, let me know that as well. If you want to see more of how I source specifically in Seekout, full Boolean strings, a full strategy session. If you want to see how I do that in LinkedIn, let me know. We can have webinars there. I have this platform. I pay for the platform here on Live Webinar. It doesn't cost me a lot, but I'm happy to use it to share my experiences and knowledge. Martel, more Boolean strings, of course, yes. I think next month I want to do an advanced, I've already done advanced X-ray. I want to do expert level X-ray, where we're then diving into some pretty crazy strategies and different things to do. So we'll jump into that next month. June's going to be crazy, and then July will probably take off. I'm traveling for most of the month, but we'll see. June's going to be fun. Any other questions? I know our attendance was a little low today. We had about 50 registrants. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to message me. This is my favorite slide I put in all my presentations. I have to go. My fish need me. I'm Aquaman. There's the trident. I don't have a fishing pond. I wish I did. My neighbors do. But always feel free to contact me via email or LinkedIn, message me. I'm always happy to connect. Let's see, Martel. I think a good role for next time would be a prompt engineer and how to search for them. That would be interesting. I am still learning the world of Chat GPT and like softwares, but that would be a fun one to look at in the near future. Eric, of course, I will send my regards to the fish. My neighbors have a pond, so maybe I'll go for a swim there. Hopefully, I don't find any snapping turtles. But I will tell the fish hello. Thank you, Martel.